remember Fuck the Noise and like that episode where like there are certain things in my life, like my children, for example, that like make everything unimportant.
That's just a few words out of today's episode with my my weekly co-host Ryan Bathgate. Just love having him back on regular like that. Hey, listen, the title sponsor for today's episode is the Yatra Trauma Center here in Krabi, Thailand, where I reside. They're a trauma center. Quite often they are treating addiction through the lens of trauma, and they do that very well. That was my experience when I visited when I attended their 30-day residential treatment program. You can learn more about them and see Mike, the head clinician, in a bunch of different episodes if you go to a2apodcast.com/trauma. And in the meantime, enjoy the show. Watchers, listeners, supporters of all kinds, welcome to another episode of the Ashes of Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Chuck LaFlange, or Chris Horder, checking in from Krabi, Thailand. Halfway around the world in Mission, BC is my very good friend and co-host, Ryan Bathgate. How you doing today, Ryan?
I am well. Maybe I got a lot of fresh air, man. So kind of like, and I'm old, man. I get up early, like I watched Matlock the night before or something. Yeah, I'm up at 6 this morning, like, all right.
That's awesome.
Guess I'll get going. Yeah. And they come out, and did some camping, and so you come out, and it's like I'm the only one with some color in my beard still up at that time, and it's just like old dogs and old people on the stroll. The dogs are just like, they can maybe do a kilometer. You can just see them clunking around, like, So yeah, no, it's good. I haven't, I haven't been to the gym in a few days, which is a weird. So it's a weird void for me.
That's interesting.
There's a gym where I was camping, but it doesn't open till 9, and being old, that doesn't work for me. That's way too
9
late.
is like lunchtime, right? Like,
yeah, I'm ready for my afternoon nap.
So the same way, I really am.
Sponge bath, yeah. So no, I'm good, man. I'm really full. Like I'm from a life perspective.
This is good.
Yeah, and I don't want to get crazy into anything, but there are things we come across in life that kind of well, and we talk, remember Fuck the Noise and like that episode where like there are certain things in my life, like my children, for example, that like make everything unimportant, and so like really it's become about how do I maintain this version of myself so I can continue to be this version for my children, and like it's a how do you explain how an orange tastes kind of moment. Like you could tell me before I had kids about this experience, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Sounds like Raleigh, North Carolina. I've never been.
I have fur babies. They're like my kids, right?
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. So yeah.
Who is it? He's that guy that he works with Bert Kreischer, that other big, like he's kind of a bigger guy. I can't think of his name, but he's a comedian who works with Bert Kreischer. I can't think of his name. He's a bigger guy. He does a whole bit about, people talk, yes, I love my dog, and yes, he's like a part of the family, but if that dog hurt my son, I would drown that dog. Wow. And then I would bring that dog to my son in a burlap sack and say, here's the dog that hurt you, son. Right?
Not a furby.
Same thing.
So it's an eye roll, right? Like, well, I've got 2 Pomeranians. You're like, okay. like you really love this apartment, but you can't have dogs. So you get rid of the dogs. But it's like, you really love this apartment, but you can't have kids. So you get rid of the kid. No, you don't get rid of the kids. You get rid of the dogs.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't get
totally
the apartment.
Fair analogy. Though, then I can already hear the hardcore dog lovers out there. Oh, I would just never move, and myself included.
Listen,
right? Like,
I'm a hardcore dog lover.
Yeah. Of course you are, right? But you just can't. The two are not in the same camp. I'm sorry.
Not even for a second.
Back to your original point. I think until you've been that person, you can never really truly appreciate that. Right.
Well,
Like,
in my case, being a stubborn, arrogant idiot, it took me a lot of pain to see it.
Hey, just to interrupt for a quick PSA, those are so important. Today's PSA is brought to you by FAR Canada. That's Families for Addiction Recovery. They are a completely free service to Canadians who have loved ones who are suffering an addiction. They offer group therapy 4 times a month. They offer a peer-to-peer support system that's absolutely next level. And of course, you can talk to Sydney if you call during business hours and get some real-time support. And here's your PSA.
Hey everyone, Rachel, Addict with Purpose here. I just wanted to briefly share about 2 of my favorite medications out there, naloxone and Narcan. These are medications to help prevent accidental overdose. It doesn't matter who you are. Addiction does not discriminate. There is crazy things out there today, and people are dying at really high alarming rates. So this medication here is a life-saving device. You cannot recover if you are dead, and this is how we are saving the lives of people and helping people find recovery when they're ready.
And just like I am, if I were to get another degree, it would probably be in selfishness. I know how to be selfish, and it's like the world has to smack me in the face and break my nose in order for me to get the point. But I'm on the other side of that point, which is my point, and that shift has been transcending, to say the least.
So is that something now? This just occurs to me now, Ryan, that you're at a point, the rose-colored glasses part, where, hey, man, like, this is it for me forever. Is it something that you think about, or you worry about losing perspective of again at any point?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or maybe... Go ahead.
Well, I worry about year 7.
Yeah.
Because traditionally that's where I start to become a fellowship of one. And then I worry about year 10 because I haven't made it past year 10.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So there's, but to say I worry about it is like, am I going to
aware
be
of it?
It's not a worry. Yeah. It's kind of a reminder. Like, Brian, you need to pay attention to these years, especially.
Fair enough.
But like rose-colored, I don't do the rose-colored glasses this time. I don't think. I think there's too much seasoning on this.
I think it's interesting that you just said you don't think, because does anybody think they are when they are, right?
Right. If you didn't finish the thing, I said I think there's too much seasoning on this steak for the rose-colored glasses. I know what's coming. I know when it gets hard. I know when it gets good. I understand where my biochemistry is at relative to a healing perspective. Like, and so like the neurotransmission is returning to form. And like, so like, I understand all that. It's not, and even in my experience, based on what I know, that pink cloud is actually a analog wave sign. So you're in the pink cloud, and then you have 7 hours of deep depression, like that you don't tell anyone about. And then the next day you wake up and you go to the gym and you get your favorite hoodie on and you get a nice haircut and you're back up there, and then like the shame of life hits you, so like I think that it's much more of a unstable emotional roller coaster than it is about a pink cloud. I just think the pink cloud is what gets talked about at podiums and in interviews, and it is also a really impact. So before I get into a negative look at that, it's a really impactful time because we're starting to understand what the deeper meaning of life is, which is that emotional connection. And we never had access to that before we had that limbic freeze, with whatever that substance might be, So like, so there's a lot of value to that process. It's just, it's a really hard time because the lows are really low, so like, right now I'm watching happening. It's more like, dedicating to a diet and gym. Like, I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor for the last 5 months starting to come to fruition. And what it looks like is a guy in the mirror that I don't mind. Furthermore, I actually kind of like the guy because I know a couple things about him. I know that he's now honest and he's transparent. And he's I am integral. It's enough of the third person. I'm when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Which is a really important thing to me. I'm going to give you my
hands
opinion.
down one of the most important things to me about myself and about who I choose to spend my time with, be it virtually or otherwise, is the integrity, right?
If you
say you're going to do it, are you going to do it? Right.
So
let's surround ourselves. Right.
I'll share a story without names. But
it's Jimmy Wednesday. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry,
actually,
Jimmy had to.
No, it's not. So I have a friend of mine who he doesn't like to be called something, and it slips sometimes. You know what I mean? Like I don't mean to, but it's just a natural thing to do. Anyway, so I said it a few times, and then it was on my mind. I'm like, man, I got to call that guy. Like it's for my own accountability, right? Which is an integrity piece for me. And so I called him because I was just driving. It was on my mind. If I didn't do that at that point, then I'd probably forget for another 2 months.
Yeah.
And he thought it was loaded. Are you kidding me? Well, but then after fuck you, I took it personal for about 8 seconds, and then it was kind of funny, right?
You did, yeah.
And so, and then it was like, put it in perspective. He's a guy that I've known for a long time, but he didn't know me in the building myself era, where this was any friend of mine would know that that's something I do. Is like if I need, promptly step 10, it says, we promptly admit when we're wrong. And so it took me a while to be promptly in this. So I want to be prompt with those things as a way of maintaining my own sense of freedom. So it really had nothing to do with anybody else, And so, so I called him up and I was just like, did you happen to say something? And he's like, yeah, I did. And I just thought it was weird. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair. And then furthermore, honestly, come to me first, because I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just getting to know a newer version of me or a revamped version where that is a safe place where maybe traditionally in the last 5 years it hasn't been, which, again, the capable of being honest with myself, I always thought I was, but I probably wasn't, And then I was, what a gift it is to have somebody that cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enough. Because it takes courage to go to my friend that's close and say, hey, have you talked to him? Is he okay? And that's how it went. It wasn't like, you guys fucking loaded. It was like, hey, something was just kind of weird with this call. And is he good? And my buddy was like, oh, yeah. One thing I know about Ryan is he's stubborn. And when he's stubborn about his recovery, he's stubborn about his recovery,
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. But it was funny. He was funny. And it's, it's part of being in the bubble. And when you're in that world, it's like every little thing is because everyone's got a month and a half, you know what I mean? It's not like people are picking at straws for nothing because Jimmy, he used in his closet in treatment last night. That should happen.
No, it's going to be a while before right? Yeah, and so you can certainly understand how somebody that's their default to think that.
And to be and to tell you the truth, my friends, he's put some time together. He's done a really good job, but he's still in the bubble. You know what I mean? And so it's just all understandable. But it is funny how no one would ever have questioned that before I did this.
I think it's important though that you acknowledge that it's somebody who cares about you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. For instance, when I kind of disappeared for the day before I left for Thailand, Lisa blew up my phone. She called me 30 times. 30 times in a 24-hour period. I didn't realize it because my phone was dead and I was just like, whatever. I was enjoying some time with a friend and whatever.
Well, Lisa's the one that knew something happened to me first.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are with Lisa, right? But and it's like, do I take that personally? No.
Well, you can't.
Right? Not at all. It's like that is somebody who cares about me, and I will never take that shit for granted, right?
You can take that personal.
Absolutely, right? I could choose to for sure.
Shift the lens. You know what I mean?
Right, 100%. So it wasn't even. It was funny for me. It was one of those profound moments where it was like somebody gives a shit. I can't take that for granted.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
so,
and if there's one thing I've learned in the last while is like how much shit I've taken for granted in my life. Like I said, PhD in selfishness, man. Like, and most of us do to some extent. We certainly,
without a doubt,
It's it's selfish self-centeredness that keeps us from getting better. You know what I mean? And it uses the ego as a tool to repel, which I know very well, very very well. Yeah. So so I'm good. Back to the question. I thought I'm shifting gears for a reason. I don't know if you like I don't listen to everyone, especially now. Like I don't listen to every one of the shows we do anymore. Most of it is because I don't know if you have this thing, but like listening to my own voice, I'm like, God, you sound awful. You know what I mean?
Well, my voice is different. My voice is sexy as fuck. So, right, that we've established that now over the course of many episodes.
This is very subjective.
No, I typically don't. Remember, by the time I've released an episode, I've already watched most of it, right? So,
I watched an interview with Dr. Dre, and he said in the interview he absolutely hates his voice, and that's why he's only recorded 2 albums. And I was like, okay, so it's just a thing in our heads. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. It's by far more often than not, I hear that from people. I have many people on the show. Lisa never goes back and watches because she can't stand her own voice. Right? Yeah. She doesn't even like watching a reel if I produce it of her. Right? So yeah.
Well, yeah. So I'm not alone, but
no.
I did go back and listen to the last week's episode with Shan.
With Shan, yeah.
And I just thought that was a really good. Like I felt emotions watching that show. Like
no kidding, eh?
Yeah, it was really good, especially like Shan comes alive.
And
it was fun to watch.
Her persona is almost stoic.
Yeah,
quite often, right? She's not a very emotive person at first glance. Anyway, I'm sure if you were to sit in a room with her, it'd be a very different experience. But far through the podcast, my has been my only exposure to her, and almost stoic in nature, and not as a negative. But what we got to see last week was wow.
It's a kind of a general set point that she has that stoicism, which is to me speaks to wisdom. To be honest with you, like
fair enough, right? Yeah, listen to the quiet person, right?
Yeah. But like when she loves recovery, and like I think when you experience the gifts of what happens, and actually I was sitting in my home group last week and somebody there was someone in their first meeting ever there.
Yeah.
And I was sitting and like analyzing, why is it that I get excited when I see that? Like, why do I get happy when I see somebody with their first day? Because it's not a good day for them. You know what I mean? Like, I know that we all know it's not a good day for them,
Yeah.
And I realized that like we know what happens. We know what these gifts are that they can expect if they make that commitment and do that work, and so and like it's kind of like the structure and the consistency of the rooms creates a safety with the process for the individual. The other thing it does is it kind of fractures the toxicity of a codependent or enabling relationship, and so people stop being dependent on the enabling behaviors that kept them from going in the first place, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Like it now shifts. Now the support, it's not like this, like I need this person's support because they give me money for dope. It's now like, okay, I can break free from that because this guy's been around a while. He knows what he's talking about. I watch him work what they're calling a program. I think he's doing that. He puts his hand out and shakes people's hands he doesn't know, which is something I'd never do. You know what I mean? Like, so, which I still like. I don't even try it, to be honest. Like, it's not my thing. But my sponsor, that's what I picked him as a sponsor because I watched him, and that's what he does. He lives that program. Like the first person, if someone new walks in the door, he shakes their hand and introduces himself. And I'm like, man, like that is a big difference for me when I came back. And I've been at this a long time. I've been to a lot of meetings, and still coming back is like, God, like I said, not a good day. You know what I mean? Like, and he came up and shook my hand, and I was like, okay, like, I actually made that my home group. It's not even his home group, but the meeting we were at that he did that, I made my home group because of that action. And because I also know what's behind that handshake. It's the I am responsible pledge, which...
Explain to me, if you will, the significance of home group. I hear it all the time, and I know what it means. But to me, it's like, well, who cares? You know, so like, why is the home group an important thing to have in the 12-step process? Okay.
Structure and accountability. It's a value-driven commitment. So if you think about what that is relative to the lens of values, you are accountable. Yep. You are committed. You are responsible. You are integral. You're I'm going to say honest. You're honest with your time, and you're honest with your commitment. So I'm not talking about verbal honesty. I'm talking about a living honesty. You know what I mean? Okay. There's a purity to it. There is a commitment. It builds self-esteem. It builds self-worth. Every time you show up, you've acted within integrity. Every time you do your commitment, you've acted with integrity, which means your self-worth, your self-esteem starts to grow. And it's not dependent on the home unit. Like I said, the toxicity at times where the home unit is an enabling unit, and it creates a false sense of safety. We call it comfort, but comfort and safety are the same thing. It's really uncomfortable to go to and join a home group. It takes a lot of courage. It's uncomfortable to go sit in a meeting with people you've never met before and talk about your vulnerable shit. Like, it's really uncomfortable, but it's safe. And that is a really good way to explain the difference between comfort and safety. Comfort within the enabling is a toxicity. You know what I mean? It's actually not safe, but comfort within the room. So yeah, a home group, what it does is it also creates, it makes it easier to start stacking those days up. You know what I mean? Because like you even if it's early and it's like, well, I'm committed to this home group, I got to make coffee, so I'm not going to go out with that friend tonight because who knows? You know what I mean? Or I'm not going to go and have soda limes at the club until 3 a.m. You know, and like even if it's a deterrent, like I don't want to have to tell people at my home group that I went to a club, so I'm just not going to go. And then you know, you play that tape of like, well, I went, my soda lime turned into a double vodka soda lime when no one was looking. You know, everyone else was drinking. They're having such a good time. I remember actually having fun doing this, you know, and so, and now I'm taking a 24-hour chip because I just got pulled out of a crack house. Like, you know, and that's the way it goes for us. We go out for a drink on Friday, and all of a sudden that Friday lasted 3 days, and I don't have a job anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
so to alcohol, I break out in cocaine.
So the home group makes you a part of. It makes you connected to something bigger. It is the very beginning, in my opinion, the opening of a spiritual journey or a spiritual exploration, and we do it in a way that it's not explicit that this is a spiritual access point. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
Did I over-explain?
Like I say, I hear it all the time, so I just wanted to unpack that a little bit.
It makes me a member as well of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is another commitment and another point of integrity.
Okay, hold on. Makes you a member. I didn't even think that was a thing. I mean, obviously, being a member. Well,
you can be a member without a home group, but it's concretizing.
Okay.
It's galvanizing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not a qualifying agent. The only
that's what I meant when you said that. That's what I. No.
The only qualification for membership is the desire to stop drinking or using,
and that was my understanding. So that's why
tradition 3
to clarify that. Okay.
Yeah, but it does something in behind the curtain, is what I'm saying. There's something more about it, about being.
No, I appreciate totally what you're saying, and it does. It makes some sense to me now. Yeah. I think there's other questions I have about 12-stepping, but I think that we're going to save that for down the road because some of it's controversial, and I don't think at this point I want to have those conversations with you because you're doing what you're doing, and I don't. You know what I mean? Maybe offline we can have those conversations. But I've been in some rather heated debates lately, so yeah.
I'm in a pretty open-minded place here. Like, I don't know if you.
Yeah. Okay, well, okay. And it's not even controversial stuff, really. Well, maybe it is.
Why don't we just
tell me if it is?
Fire one across the bow, and we'll see if it's worth pursuing. Okay.
So the identifying as an alcoholic or an addict at a meeting when you share.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that, and why is that important? I have my own opinion on it, but my opinion is very limited. So, or my knowledge is very limited. So my opinion reflects that. Possibly. So, yeah.
Okay. So for me, and I'll speak to me because I can't speak for anyone else on this forum. It's fucking noise. Tradition 3 is the primary purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have a desire to stop drinking. I don't care what you call yourself. You're in the right place.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting some flippies here. See
that?
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah. Never seen that. Yeah. Okay.
Then, so I when in Rome, I do that because of a tradition thing, because that's what they've done since 1939. And for me, it's paying respect towards the people that have gone before based on what they did before. It's like we call feminism because of a respect for where it comes from, but it's actually very gender fluid. I didn't know I was a feminist until I studied feminism. I was like, oh my God, these are all the same values I believe in. You know what I mean? Like, so like, but I believe personally, like I identify as substance use disorder.
So when you share at an AA meeting, you say that?
No. I in my share, I might say that, sure, but I'll say my name's Ryan, I'm an alcoholic. Or I used to say when I had a real problem with it and I cared, I would say I'm Ryan, I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I also see that as one of those things that I would pick up to separate myself from a solution. And so, you know what I mean? Like having an opinion on something that doesn't fucking matter, which I'm a master at.
Yeah.
You know, and so now I just see it as absolute noise. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. Call yourself whatever you want.
So I guess so where the difference there, and you said it quite well, Ryan, in my mind. For me personally, and if I was going to meetings, I would just when in Rome. Yeah, why not? Because it doesn't matter to me. But what's important is that if you get up and you say, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a whatever, I don't give a shit. And that's, to me, that's the important part right there is if you're letting what somebody else says in their share affect you and your ability to take whatever you need, then that says way more about you than it does about that person who's sharing.
Yeah. So as a therapist, I would say let's look under the hood. What's driving? What's driving that? Is it an insecurity? Is it a fear? Either way,
it's ego. Somewhere in there is ego every time. Right?
Well,
in my mind,
absolutely. Well, 100%, because ego is disconnected, and that's exactly what's happening. Is you're disconnecting from the greater connection, the greater, which is evolutionary. Right. I mean, we're not even talking about recovery. We're talking about being human, and we need connection. Yeah. So when you're in that state, what are you defending?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I agree.
I had quite an interesting conversation in the comments with somebody. I won't even say heated debate. It was maybe it got heated at points. I wasn't on his side of the keyboard, so I can't really say. A lot of some canned responses about tradition and that and why it's so important. But he might get a kick out of this. I said, and I asked, and I'll ask you the same question: is it anywhere in the literature to say that you have to identify as either at a meeting?
No, like I said, I read this in a grapevine. The only thing I've ever heard talked about is refraining from using your last name to solidify the anonymity portion.
Yes.
And I've never read it. I've read that book 100 times at least.
Yeah, and that was been my question. I've asked you're the third person now. Nobody's been able to say where it says that, of course.
But I don't recall it ever saying that.
No, it doesn't. I asked AI, where does it say, like, even that, right? Because it's pretty. It's got the entirety of human race's knowledge in one place, and it says nowhere does it specifically say, though it does allude to it, right? Just for me to paraphrase, but he pointed me to the clarity statement, Bill Wilson, that gets passed around YouTube.
As Bill sees it, though? Is it from As Bill Sees
Sorry?
It? Is it from As Bill Sees It? It's not.
Might have been.
It's not in the big book.
It's not the big book. No, most certainly it's not. I'd have to go back and find it.
Yeah,
But in this audio statement that he's making, he says people with other problems such as narcotic use, queer sex, and gambling. I'm like, is this really what you just used to justify your point? Somebody who's 60, and this is from 67 years ago, said queer sex is one of the problems in there with drug use. Right? Like, you can't, come on, man.
Wow.
Like,
in all fairness, it was.
I don't even condemn him for saying it. That was 67 years ago,
dude,
and that was the mindset.
It was in the DSM.
Absolutely, and that's what I was thinking as I heard it and as I was having this conversation.
1974, it was in the DSM.
Yeah, right. So I have no, like, I don't condemn Bill Wilson for saying those words because at that time that was relevant. But if it's in the list of drug users, right, then I think we can all agree that point
might be a call for assessment.
Antiquated at best.
Yeah,
right. Right.
I wanted to give you an example of that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I
can't remember the song. Okay. Dire Straits.
Yeah.
Money for Nothing. Listen to that song and talk about cultural lag.
I'll have to check it out. Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free. I can't think of it.
With the earring. The earring.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
No, I don't. I don't remember the lyrics.
Man. Yeah. He calls him a silly little F word, not your usual F word.
No kidding, hey?
That's yeah.
Wow. That wasn't even that long ago.
Dire Straits, 1985.
Right? Like, wow.
See the little F word with the earring and the makeup. Yeah, buddy, that's his own hair. That little F word got his own jet airplane. That little F word, he's a millionaire. 4 times.
Wow. The 3-letter version or the 6-letter version, right? Of the F word.
6.
So, okay. I love how we have said all sorts of insane shit on this show, and then now we're like spelling out words.
Censor, yeah. I'm not saying that word, man. I'm not.
No, it's like the R word now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, geez. All right. I think the N word would come with a little less hassle than either one of those, right? Like, let's be honest.
Did you see the way that South Park got around that word?
No.
They say artard.
You're gonna get me fucking canceled. Okay. Oh my god.
I'm laughing at the social absurdity, not the actual word.
Yeah, of course, right? South Park. I love South Park.
Jesus,
right? They're just so horribly offensive, right?
But they are evil comedic geniuses.
Right. Back in the 90s, I read an article. It was the guy. I think he was their agent or he was their manager or something, and he was their liaison in some way, shape, or form to Comedy Central.
Mm-hmm.
And he said every week, the night it released, he wouldn't sleep because he figured this is it.
Well,
this is it. We're all going to lose our jobs in the morning because what have they done now?
What was
right?
it? Was it them or no? It was Family Guy, ironically, that ended up almost starting a war.
Really?
Yeah, you remember it was like they made a joke about Muslim faith, and it did not land well. Like they got canceled in a whole bunch of countries, and
yeah.
Yeah. And then I think South Park made a spoof on that.
Yeah.
They must have been like, hey, we should have been the ones getting that.
I mean, creators of South Park are the ones that made Team America, right? So I mean,
yeah. No, Team America.
If you want offensive, I mean, that's the most offensive movie ever made, period.
Dude, they're dolls.
Right.
Taking dumps on each other.
I'm not even going to repeat some. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Fucking in trouble. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
For copyright.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I want to.
Anyways.
We did we finish the questions?
I think we did. Yeah. Yep. I feel satisfied with the answer. It really, and it's. I think if you give that question any more time than we did, it's kind of just feeding into the bullshit. Because you're right. At the end of the day, the person saying it, maybe you should because it's respectful of the situation. But what's more important is the person listening to it and hearing it, and how you choose to take that, right? And get over it.
And
is my mind.
Right? What I'll say to that is, as a member, is tradition 3. That's the only requirement for membership, is a desire to quit drinking. Yeah. That's it. Whatever you call yourself doesn't matter. You got and we know like what it takes to get to those chairs. Nobody wins the lottery and comes to AA.
And I guess that was the argument. Well, if you identify as something else, you might scare someone else out of the room. It's like, if you interrupt somebody's share to tell them how they should be identifying, you are scaring somebody out of the room. Like that is where, like, come on. You know what I mean? And I mean, if we're going to, I don't think that's a reasonable thing to say about people.
And to me, that's where leadership is required. To give the right messaging, to say that, like, why are you worried about something that doesn't matter? You know what I mean? This guy made it here. This girl made it here. That's it. That's all. That's the win. You know what I mean? Yeah. Let's hope they stay.
Right.
And we don't start getting into arguments about shit that doesn't matter and scare them away.
Exactly right. Because that at the end of the day, that is the most glaring example of personalities over principles.
And the people
that I can imagine, right?
The people who are misidentifying according to social construct, they're the ones that matter here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't even think of that unless someone's like, "Hey, you got to identify this with it." You know what I mean? Like, they're just at a meeting. Yeah. You know. So I mean, it's a noise. Fuck the noise, man. That's what I'll say to that.
The noise.
So I will say, like, I did some cool things actually this week.
What'd you do?
I don't know if we should talk about it. I got this thing.
What is that thing?
This Devos. And so I went and spent some time with Devo's parents last week. And that was awesome. And it was, and then I went and did my favorite thing to do, which I won't talk about too much on here. But I will say, like,
spending time with people you care about.
Yeah, like love the ones you love, man. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, it's an action word. You know, the moments that we look back on with fondness, we are able, if we practice, to know that it's happening while it's happening. You know, and like, you know, let that hug last an extra 3 seconds. You know, like laying out, looking at the stars, just explaining the universe to the little one that I love so much. You know, and like moments that I'll never forget. Maybe she won't either. I don't know. But like, that's fucking life. That's what matters. You know, like, and so you want to, like, when you ask me a question about how I identify, when I put that up against laying in a field with my little girl, like looking at the stars, I don't give a shit what you call yourself. I really don't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about what the taxes are. I don't care about Donald Trump getting shot. Like, I don't care about any of it. You know, and like, so, like, I guess what I would say based on this conversation is, like, the noise is a trap, and it takes life. It takes us away from life in motion, our ability to be present in the moment with the people we love, and like, you know, like if I'm sitting here and I've been the guy that's like, why is that guy calling himself an addict in the AA? You know what I mean? Like, I've been that, and like, what am I missing if I'm in that space? What space am I not in?
Yeah.
And
That's I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
because really, I'm in a, here's a miracle. I go sit in a room in a goddamn dirty church basement with, 25 people with substance use disorder, and none of them are using. And none of them are,
Yeah.
there's no one drink in the room.
Yeah.
That's a miracle. Because everyone
Yeah.
in that room, they earned that seat through pain and trauma and all the things it takes us to get there. Because
Of course.
and like that. So like that's what I want to be thinking about. That guy said, "My name's Earl and I'm an addict," and I'm like, "Good for you. That's who I want to be. Good for you,
Yeah.
Earl. You made it. Not
No kidding.
Earl. You're fucking this up." Like, like.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Give the guy a chip and a hug and a smile and tell him it's going to be okay if it keeps coming. That's what we do. That's like I said, my sponsor, he puts his hand out. He doesn't worry about how you identify. He puts his hand out because he knows what it takes to get here, and it ain't fun.
Yeah.
There's, there's, like I said, there's no awesome first meetings. That's not a thing.
No.
I
remember for myself in detox, of course, I had to go to meetings. But even my first 5 voluntary, like, it was time to go to a meeting, right? And when I got out of detox and I was going daily.
Yeah.
I couldn't talk without crying. I couldn't even read the preambles without crying. I know. Right?
Not surprised at all.
But it just is overwhelming. Like, no, fuck, it's not easy to be there. It's not easy to get there. It's not, right?
It's not easy to stay.
So I can only imagine the first time that I do share some asshole correcting me.
Yeah.
I can only, that would have been an instant, yep, yoink. Yeah.
Oh,
thank you for the resentment. I've got a dealer on the way, right? Like, that's how that would have
totally
been right now, right?
I got your house of cards up there,
Yeah.
One thing, and I remember being annoyed for all the clapping. I told you a story about Dave. And after that, I was always like, it's way too much clapping. But so my sponsor is the guy that he's so like in every A meeting say, no crosstalk. Everybody looks at my sponsor like he's the crosstalk guy. But what he does is like, good job, Gertrude. I just got 14 days. All right, way to go. All right. He's that guy. And I'm like, why?
If you're gonna crosstalk, right?
Right. Yeah. But I'm like, why am I always with the loudmouths? I know why, because I'm a loudmouth. I just need to find the person.
Feather. I mean,
well, it's like, it's strategic. I find the guy that's just a little louder. I don't have to be the fastest runner from the bear, just not the slowest.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, it's I haven't been to a lot of meetings this week, to be honest with you, because of being not around. So, I'll be back on track tomorrow. But I miss it, dude. It's does
that give you any sort of anxiety when you say you miss it? But does that, given where you're at in your recovery and all that, does it make you like, I better get back on track? Right? Is it like that for you, or no? Okay,
no.
I mean, you're missing it for good reason, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But
it's things that make me nervous are if I caught myself lying. If I said I was going to do something, I didn't do it. If I said I was going to be somewhere and I didn't show up, the value, when the values are falling off, that's when I need to really ring the alarms. And so, dude, 25 years of this, I know what's going on. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And and I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean it in an experiential way. In that, I know what to expect. I know what happens when I go a long time without a meeting. And what happens is the golf ball starts to shift its trajectory. And so if I keep on that path, I end up over here. That's what I know happens.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing if I'm, and I know it's this roots program, but if I'm doing that daily inventory, then I'll be looking back on my day and going, oh, you know what? And I do it through an emotional assessment. I look at how I felt through the day, not what happened. And because what I felt will always tell me what happened, And so I'll be like, oh, there was an anxiety point there, or there was something out of rhythm. And I'll look at it, and it might be like, oh, shit, you haven't been to a meeting? And you know what? I did notice, here's the thing. So I'm doing neural loop therapy from God Love Stacy. He's helped me out with some hooking me up with counseling through T-Dub. And that therapy is really cool. They hook the things to your brain, your ears, your ear and your temple, and you listen to music, and it has this cutout. So I use neural loop therapy as a theory in my talk therapy as a way to explain how behaviors are born. This is a electrical rewiring. And so I was driving, and I'm wow. Yeah, so I'm driving along. I'm heading to golf with another member of our community. And there's this big double load truck, and he's in the middle of the road, and he's offloading this thing, and I'm start driving by, and he starts putting his hands up like this. And so I politely stop the truck, roll the window down, and asked him if I could help him with his problem in different words. And,
is that how it happened, Ryan?
It's mostly, I got a switchblade. I got a mag light and a switchblade. Old habits die hard. And so I had mentioned that maybe it was less convenient for the world that he was parked in the middle of the road, and that there's, I think I had said that there's more than one person on the planet. It's a population of 7.5 billion, not just you. Yep. And so he invited me into a more intimate conversation on the side of the road. And so I thought about it, which is a good sign, And I was just like, yeah, you know what? Nothing good's happening here. And then I'm driving away, and I'm going up the mountain to the golf course, and I'm like, damn it, Ryan. Like, that's not who you want to be.
No. You can focus on that, or you can focus on the fact that you pulled away, right? And that is who you want to be, right? So
yeah, but I really entertained
I can totally appreciate where you're
flashes of jugular, So the therapy, what it did was it created space between emotion and reaction. That's what I noticed that from a data standpoint. Like I was much more proactive in my responses than reactive in my responses.
Do you attribute that to that neural loop therapy?
Yeah, I do. Because I didn't do it for 3 weeks, and I noticed the difference. I was a little testier. I was a little more quicker to reaction, and I probably still am. I just haven't had any major stimuli to test that.
Yeah.
So I feel that when I don't go to meetings, it's kind of like the earth the sky isn't falling. But it's kind of like, you're going to be doing this the rest of your life, Ryan. You need to maintain that. You know what I mean? And I don't want to use the definite. So let's just say I'm going to be doing this for a long time because I don't know what's
the foreseeable. Right?
Yeah. And like the other thing is, it's like this commitment I didn't make today that I've made a lifetime commitment to. I didn't uphold my end. So it's not like you're a piece of shit. It is, okay, tomorrow you're back on the horse. You know what I mean? Like, we need to right the ship. We can't allow this trajectory to take hold. We got to get back into center. And
of course.
And so but again, that's all product of me being through this before. Like, there was a time that I would have deep anxiety, and like if I missed my home group or something, like, oh my God. But now it's, if I'm going to miss my home group, I'm accountable to my home group members. And so and again, that's the product of experience. Like, that's how I stay in the middle. I can miss my home group, but I need to let my sponsor know. There's a lady there that's absolutely phenomenal. I love her. And she's somebody I let know. I don't know. She's just a member like me, but something about her commitment I respect, I think. And so when I'm accountable to her, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. I don't know why, but it just works. You know what I mean? So, and so I don't know. I don't think it has to be complicated. And I think that it's very easy for us to complicate, we complicate the fuck out of everything. And here's another good example.
Yeah,
like, miss a meeting, not a big deal. Just make sure you're accountable. You know what I mean? Like, and that you're honest with yourself. If you're missing meetings and starting to feel that tension build, and the layers of paint are starting to get put on the prison walls, and it's getting smaller and smaller, well, maybe you got something to look at. But either way, you should be talking to your support network all the way along, whether it be sponsor or friends or whatever. Again, back to
whatever
the values. Well, and like to me, I want to be value driven. I want to live my life with values, and so accountability is one of those values that's important. And so, being accountable to my home group, it means I'm a part of that. It's an admission of impact. That this group has meant something to me, and I respect it, and so I'm going to be accountable to it as a member of that group to uphold the culture of what we're doing. And so, I might over-explain that too, but I guess I'm in that mood today.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, and it's interesting being being a therapist and being in recovery is really, I'm finding it to be really different this time, because in my history, it wasn't an even split. It wasn't an equitable fulfillment, I guess. It was kind of one or the other, like an 80-20, and then eventually 100% nothing, So it's and what I'm realizing this time is that I'm very old school when it comes to recovery, but also very new age when it comes to therapy. And so those two they can have moments of like, shit, I got to make a decision here based on who I am as a human being, not as a therapist or a person in recovery. And what do I actually believe with this? Or, like maybe I'm a traditional God person and I give it to God. I don't know how you deal with that. For me, I'm a little bit more, when it comes to the spiritual side of things, I mean, spirituality to me is just really the simplest definition. Connectability. That's the way I live under my own understanding of spirituality. Being connected to other people and to whatever it is that's out there. And it's like, like I have an idea that I don't know what's out there, and I don't care what it is. I just know that when I'm open to whatever that is, my life gets better. And that data is data I cannot overlook. So I believe in something. Don't even know what it is. Don't even have a clue. Don't care.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I mean, I got shit. It's been hard to not make these about recovery just because of where I'm at.
It's a recovery podcast at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So,
it is,
but did you say things about recovery or this about recovery? What did you just say?
Well, I don't remember, but what I'm saying, like, it's hard to not, because like when we were doing this pre-relapse, I didn't want to talk about recovery. And rightfully so. I wanted to talk.
I might remember.
Yeah, but I mean, and the reasons aren't different. I do believe that the things that we talk about on here are applicable to every human being that breathes. That if you've ever experienced emotion, then I think you could listen to this podcast and be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, that could really help me.
Without a doubt, man.
Yeah. So like, and that's kind of what I was like focused on before, but I'm in a place right now of building a life that has recovery in the center, and it has to, based on what I've learned by trial and error. And the one thing I've learned is that I can't be who I want to be unless I'm walking a sober path. Unfortunately, I don't know. I guess that's perspective, but for a long time I thought that was really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, like I'd convinced myself that the recovery world was another prison. And
because I think I remember you saying those exact words. Actually.
Because for me that was a truth to me at the time, and I didn't understand why. Yeah. I thought it was a prison for everyone else, and I had choice. The reality is it was a prison for me because I didn't have any support and set myself up with support network. I was everyone else's, and that had nothing for me. And I didn't make time for my mental health, and I didn't make time for my physical health, my emotional health, and ultimately my spiritual health, because my ego ruled the roost. I cannot be spiritual and egoic at the same time. Like, it's just not possible. It is interesting this time, and it's a lot of fun. I don't remember having this much fun going through this. there was a few months that it was emotionally difficult, but still fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And so I mean, life on the other side is so far is good. I mean, we're only not even at 5 months, which is hard. It's hard to
newcomer.
Well, yeah.
Fuck. I just said my 21 months. I'm so much better.
Yeah,
than
you are. Yeah, you rock.
Really.
I think they're carving.
Talk to me when you've got like a year.
Yeah.
Right? Just yeah.
Make sure it identifies in that.
Somebody actually said, I think I might have talked to you about that in an episode. Somebody actually said that to me in a comment. You got to have a lot more than 20 months to hang out with me. It's like, holy fuck, easy fireball, right?
Yeah. Can I see that application?
And it was then that we stopped taking you seriously. Right there. Right. So yeah.
You've got to have a 150 IQ to hang out with me. So bye.
Right.
And actually, not anyone else, just you.
Yeah. Anyway. Hey, listen, we're there. We're at the top of the hour, so we'll move into my favorite part of the show.
Crazy, man.
Daily Gratitudes. Today's Daily Gratitudes are brought to you by AARC, it's the Alberta Adolescent Recovery Center, located in Alberta, Alberta, Canada. That it is. They're doing some crazy things there as far as this peer-to-peer support system. It's amazing what they're doing. So check them out, guys. You can learn more at arc.ab.ca. And what you got for some gratitudes, my friend?
Summer. Definitely grateful for summer. I am grateful for struggle. I am grateful for forgiveness. I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm grateful for just the gift of love that life offers us, like the moments that last forever, like, and I'm glad we have the opportunity to be able to cherish these things and people and man, life is just everything about it is a gift, and if I can remain in that space and see it that way, even when it's hard, then I'll have something figured out. I'll let you know when I get there. It'll take me a while. But no,
Fair enough.
There's just so many beautiful people in this world that have a purity of heart that make life not just worth living for, but an experience that I don't know what's next after this. And I think that this might be the hard part, but man, it's fun, and so, I don't know. I love people. I love behaviors. I love, and most of all, it's hard to believe there's people that love me and trying to figure it out why, but maybe I'll stop doing that because for some reason they just keep doing it. And
right.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. Life is fucking awesome.
Good. Myself, I'm going to call out somebody. Chantel from. Go ahead.
I have to.
Okay.
My beautiful children and Marina. Sorry.
Of course you do. Yes.
Yeah.
Myself, it's going to go to Chantel from Trap House Testimonies. What people might not know about it, Trap House Testimonies is a platform on Facebook, or a page on Facebook. But we come from the same city. Most of our our hard life was lived in Regina. Neither one of us lives there now. But so there's a lot of overlap in our lives, and we've become very close. But our conversations are daily and great. And she's turned out just to be this wonderful friend. And her friendship is appreciated. So I'm gonna throw her in. Of course, I am very grateful to every single person who continues to like, comment, share, watch, talk about the platform, the episodes. You guys, we are in the middle of another massive growth spurt, and it's amazing, and I love it. And please keep doing the things, because every time you keep doing those things, every time you do those things, you're getting me a little bit closer to living my best life. My best life is to make a humble living, spreading the message, and the message is this. If you're in active addiction right now, today could be the day. Today could be the day that you start a lifelong journey. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, call it a detox, go to a meeting, pray, go to church. I don't give a shit. Do whatever it is you got to do to get that journey started, because it is so much better than the alternative. If you have a loved one who's suffering an addiction right now, just take the time to listen to us ramble on. If you could just take one more minute out of your day and text that person, let them know they're loved. Use the words,
"You are loved."
That little glimmer of hope just might be the thing that brings them back.
I'm grateful for flamingos.